if I had been infringed by fear, I don't think even we'd be having this conversation right now. Most people are very afraid of their dreams.
Welcome to Imagini's World, where we hear from forward thinkers, activists, and sci-fi visionaries. Today I'm with Agatha Akullu, author and reading activist based in Uganda, but whose work goes across the continent and beyond. She founded the NGO Read Us Africa, whose goals are to encourage young Africans to read, develop writing skills, and cultivate leadership qualities. Read Us Africa works across 10 African countries and 40 universities worldwide. Agatha will share more on her vision of the future, so let's get started. One thing that would interest me a lot is to know how you got started in what you're doing. I gather from comments I've seen on the internet that you're young, and people often are surprised at how much you've done in your, shall we say, your short life. How did you get started?
So I think my journey dates back to when I was still a kid. By then we had LRA wars in northern Uganda, so I didn't attend formal schooling. But my aunt, at that point, she made me learn to read, to write, to draw from home. I think I was around 7 years by then. But the interesting thing is that she would actually tell me that, you know what, when you finish reading this book, you're going to write a review and you'll get a sweet. I would read and then I read the reviews to get the sweets. Yeah. But I think with time I realized that indeed it was not just about the sweets. It became part of me. Yeah. So when I went to my high school, that is St. Mary's Girls College Aboke, I think we had this a very amazing Catholic school where it was compulsory for all of us to borrow books from the school library. It was a must for everyone. So I would go and borrow books, and I think I would read like 7 books in a week, a book per day, really. So when COVID-19 came, I was in my senior six vacation waiting to go to university. Lockdown came in. And I was like at home, I was like, wait, how do I spend my time? Because by then I was working with Educate Uganda and we were no longer working now. Remember COVID-19, how it came? Yes, people were at home. There was lockdown. You get it? So I was like basically at home. So I said, you know what? Since I've been mentoring people, I've been mentoring high school students, youth, and all that. Let me start a book club, right? And we start reading what a book. Actually, I have the book. I think I have it here. I'm so sorry. It's this. This was the book. It was given to me by my mentor.
By Rick Warren, The Purpose-Driven Life.
Yeah, purpose-driven life book. So my mentor gave it to me. She said, I want you to read this book. But when I read the first chapter, I remember I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm the only person on earth who can actually benefit with this book. You get it? So let me get 7 other people. We read this book together. So we were 7 of us. We started reading the book. It just 40 chapters. And our goal by then was that after the 40 days, because each day would be a chapter, we would actually go back to our normal lives. We would, end the book club and life would move on. But we realized that we started growing. I think by the end of the book, we had grown our membership from 7 people, went to 11. We went to 121 people in the WhatsApp group. We had people from Ghana, we had people from Nigeria, from Zimbabwe, from Kenya, very many people. And we were like, you know what? We need to stop reading this book. They said, no, I think let's continue reading the book. Let's continue with the book club. So I got another book. I don't remember the title very well, but at least I remember this. And we read that book. I realized that, wait, we have been here and, they're not lifting up the lockdown. Like, days were continuing to increase, you get it? So we felt like we can't just leave these people, 121 people, to just continue like that. Maybe we need to become now a company because we were already like a family. We're seeing there was impact. That's when we decided that, no, we need to be Read Us Africa. And the name Read Us Africa, it came from the idea that Africans should read African content, write African content, and also what? Read African content. That is where the name Read Us Africa comes from, because we realize that if you look at the curriculum that we have in Uganda, most of the books are, let's say, for Shakespeare, for, Charles Dickens, but we lack our content. Like, we lack our content, we lack credibility, you get it? So we're like, okay, I think we do something of this kind. So that's how we came into existence. And up to today, we have never looked back from a WhatsApp group. Book club.
That is really interesting. You started it on WhatsApp then. You've reached, it's a huge number.
15 African countries.
That is really incredible. I looked at your agenda 2030 that's published on the website. Can you talk about that a little bit? You've got 3 points in it. You've got empower over 8 million readers, writers, and leaders, establish a publishing house, launch a bookstore.
Yes, thank you so much. Now, if you look at leaders, most leaders actually what? Readers. Good readers really make good leaders. You get? I don't know whether we're on the same. And we realize that if at all we want to come up with good leaders, we need to first of all start with empowering the readers. Because there is a saying that if you want to hide something from an African, put it in a book, right? Because Africans don't read. You find that we have leaders in parliament, but they sign bills without even reading it. Like people just sign things anyhow. You get? In order for us to come up with, these 8 million, readers, writers, and leaders, we need to first of all come to the grassroots and start with kids, as early as the age of 3 years. That is why right now we have the Junior Authors Academy that actually empowers these young writers to actually write and have their books published. Once the books are published, you realize that if I am at school and I'm 20 years of age, okay, let me say if I'm at school, I'm 10 years of age, and I've published my book, my friends would want to read it, my family members would want to read it, and of course my teachers would want to read it. Like people would be curious to read. You get? So we realized we could actually promote reading in that particular way. And the other thing is, and I'm very, very glad to tell you that right now we already have a publishing house. And the challenge that we have in the publishing industry, especially in Uganda right now, is that one, it is very expensive. If you want to publish a book, it is very, very costly, very costly. And also, if you want to publish your book in Uganda, you need to be someone who is old, you're known. Yes, for the books to be sold. Yeah, and also that aside, it takes a lot of time. Imagine you have your book, you have written, and then it is taking 5 years to be published. You get it? So when I wrote my book, my first book, I just want to show you.
Is that Arrow of Destiny?
Oh, yes, it is.
I was I tried to buy it online. I wanted to read it before our conversation today, and I couldn't find a place to buy
This
it.
book has a challenge. That's why you don't see it anywhere. It is also one of the reasons why I had to come up with a publishing industry in Readers Africa. It was poorly published. Like the person that published it, they messed it up. You get? It wasn't to the standards. So I said, you know what? These are the challenges that we have in the publishing industry. I have spent so much money to print over 200 copies. I have over 100 copies here with me that I cannot even sell them because they don't represent me well. You get? So I felt like, I need is something that can bridge this gap. And also looking at the copyright infringements, you find that you have a book, but people are photocopying it, they are photocopying it and selling it cheaply. You get it? And then also we talked about the other thing of, okay, you talked about the bookstore. Yes, we're also working on coming up with a bookstore. Yeah, it's something that is still under development because we realize that in Africa, yes, you can write a book, you can publish it, but the problem is buyers. So how do we make these books penetrate in the market? We have the market there. The markets are in the schools. We have the organizations that can buy these books. But how especially can we make these books get to the market? And also, I think you said that you tried to look for my book on Amazon and you couldn't get it. You see, it's a challenge actually in Africa. I don't know about other countries, but in Uganda, it's also hard for our books to be on Amazon. So that's why I also want the bookstore that can do away with some of these challenges. And also, maybe just to expand on the 8 million readers, writers, and leaders, I'm also glad to mention that at least we are coming to our mark of 1 million empowered, youth.
Wow. I saw that you are co-author of another book that intrigued me by the title. It's called Dead Manners. It's a collection of different authors, I believe. Is that
Yes,
right?
please. Dead Manners.
Where's the title Dead Manners? Where does that title come from? What does it mean?
Dead Manners, like you've already mentioned, it's the collection of 50 poets across Africa, 10 African countries. So we came together and then we came up with this concept that, you know what, if you look at African context, we have things like corruption, we have things like immorality, we have things like, okay, we have so many things that are ongoing in our continent, okay? So how can we voice out these challenges, especially in writing? If you're from Rwanda, what is in Rwanda that you need to put out, like you need to call out, but in writing, you get it? So that is why we call it dead manners. Basically saying that manners that are not wanted. They are dead. You get? There's good manners, bad manners, but this one is dead.
Wow. I'm sure that with your energy and with your friends and your network, you'll manage to get your writing and other people's writing on Amazon. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, Amazon is where you have to be if you want to get your work out into the world. And I was on Medium. I see your article, very interesting, when you talked about The Alchemist with Paul Coelho, and you had three quotes, or you had a series of quotes from his book, The Alchemist. And they really struck me very strongly. And I'd like to ask you about three of them. The first one I selected is, it's the possibility of having a dream come true that makes life interesting. Is that the way you feel about what drives us in our lives?
There are people who have dreams, right? You have a dream, maybe you want to build a house. I'm just giving this local example. You want to build a house, you want to maybe buy land, you want to maybe travel to another outside country, maybe you want to, let's say you just want to have a publishing company and also looking at Agenda 2030, you get it? But there are certain times when there is no hope at all. Maybe you are trying to do this, but there are challenges left, right, and all that. But do you have the possibility? Do you see that there's a possibility of this dream really coming true? You get it? I really find that once there's that flicker of hope, really everything is really possible. It all begins with hope, because I believe that hope is more or less something to do with what? With faith. You believe that even if you have the challenges, you have this dream, you have the challenges, everything is really possible.
That fits very well with the third quote that I chose. People are afraid to pursue their most important dreams because they feel that they don't deserve them or that they'll be unable to achieve them. I think that's a very deep statement.
Like, we are very, very afraid to pursue our dreams, like our deepest dreams, because we feel like maybe we just don't deserve them. Maybe the dreams are too big or too good to be true. You get, maybe we're just not capable. You see, there's this thing that people have, that I am too young to do this. I don't know whether you get it. That you feel like for someone to let's say, for example, to run a company, you need to be someone very old, right? You need to be gray-haired. You need to have a lot of money. You know what? We started from a point where we were just a book club. Can we come up and make this now become a very big dream, like a publishing house, a company where people can earn from? You get? But if I had been infringed by fear, if we had been infringed by fear, I don't think even we'd be having this conversation right now. So yeah, it is really that. Most people are very afraid, really, of their dreams.
I think you're absolutely right. I have some questions I wanted to ask you about your view of the future. I can guess the answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Are you optimistic or pessimistic about the future, either short term or long term? How do you feel about it?
I'm very optimistic about the future. That is the truth. I think you were right. You could already guess it. I'm very, very optimistic about the future. Can you believe that today is actually our future? I don't know whether you get the point. Because yesterday was 29th. Today is 30th. We're already in the future. Most people think that the future is 10 years from now, but the future is now. Like, I have created that part whereby I live in the future. So if I am envisioning a future where I want, 8 million readers by, 2030, I need to start living in it now. I don't need to wait for it to come. You get? So yeah, I am very optimistic that even regardless of the challenges that we are facing, of course, it is quite a slippery business. It's quite a slippery industry. But I am very, very optimistic. The fact that we have existed for 5 years without dying, I think there is more to this, really. Yeah.
Well, that sort of goes on to my next question, which is, what is the one thing that gives you the most hope about the future?
One thing that gives me the most hope about the future, I am a believer. Yeah, I have, that is it really. I am really a very, very pious believer and a lover of God. And the one thing that really makes me believe in the future is that the fact that, things just work out from childhood, from I don't know how long up to now. Really, 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 surely. That is the one thing.
If there were one thing that you could, now this, I don't know what your answer is going to be. This next question, I genuinely have no idea. The question is, if there were one thing that you could change about humanity, about the world.
If there was one thing that I could change about humanity, to be sincere, it would be the fact that we are not okay. If you look at humanity right now, people always ask, what can Jane do about the situation? Not what can I do about the situation. You get? We always think about others being the solution, but not us. You get? if there is a fire outbreak in my neighboring community, what can I do about it even before the police comes? Am I going to just wait for the police to come and put on the fire brigade and all that, or am I going to do something about it? You get? So the one thing that I really wish I could change about humanity is having that empathy and having it in our hearts that we should really be the change that we want to see, not always waiting for someone to come and create that change. That regardless of how small that help could be, that aid could be, let's put in the efforts. I feel like we have so many things ongoing, but we don't care about it. Like we don't care. Like most people don't care about that. You get? We're always thinking outside. What can someone do for me? What can I do for them? Yeah, that is it really for me.
Agatha, I really enjoyed our conversation. Your work is truly inspiring.
Thank you.